Cowardice asks, the question, is it safe? Expediency asks, the question, is it politic? Vanity asks, the question, is it popular? But conscience asks, the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but he must do it because conscience tells him it is right.
Every time our country stands in the path of danger, an instinct seems to summon her finest first, those who truly understand her. When freedom shivers in the cold shadow of true peril, it's always the patriots who first hear the call. When loss of liberty is looming, as it is now, the siren sounds first in the hearts of freedom's vanguard.
Fighting for humanity and against globalism, one mind at a time. It's the Freedom Link with Joe Joseph.
Well, welcome everybody to another exciting edition of the Freedom Link here on the day before St. Patty's Day. Well, what a way to kick that off, huh? Little corned beef, little cabbage. Yep. I'm thinking it's going to be a happy action fun time. And we have, of course, Ken. Now he's just taken us and gone like off the deep end, kind of, as far as adding his channel. So we're live streaming from the Change the Channel. That's right. Hey, Ken.
Nice.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited about this. You know, it's like, yes, I'm back. I wanted to come back. You know, how things in the years have been.
You don't have to tell us. Yeah, we know. You know what I find interesting? I got to tell you, anybody that has done this and has done this for a long time. By the way, Johnny King and I, we did this first. It was the day before St. Patty's Day, 2006.
Wow.
That's when we started the Freedom Link. That's how long we've been doing this for. Oh my God. So anyway,
that's when you got, I mean, you know, nothing real, but that's when you got me into it. You pulled me into the Freedom Link. Well, I was like, I would have people say, do radio. And then you, Popeye, and Johnny King pulled me over to Freedom Link so many years ago and got me into that stuff, you know, the King's Court, all that stuff. That was awesome.
Yeah, over the years, of course, we've changed the format a little bit, but you know, adding this the new channel to the mix. Hopefully, we get a little more outreach. And let me tell you guys, it's going to be a crazy year. I feel like things are starting to heat up and in a crazy way. And a lot of people out there don't believe that. Well, I mean, I think it's easier to see and identify just how phony a two-party system is, and how phony our election cycle is, and how phony our government is. And we've been through everything. As a matter of fact, you know, we were through this thing called a pandemic, right? And during this pandemic, you have a plandemic. Yes, thank you very much. And it really kind of showed just how far people will give away their rights and their freedoms when confronted with a virus, you know, and all the propaganda associated with it. How many people ended up supporting the mask thing, even though the science showed you, no, that's not a good thing. You're probably going to hurt yourself over the long run. And go find out, you know, you got guys like Dr. Campbell on YouTube and others, right, Scotty, that have
right.
really kind of put that information out there with excess deaths and all the collateral damage, you know?
And the fact that, you know, there's really nothing they can do to discredit Dr. Campbell. I mean, because
well, that's just it.
You know, I mean, it's too blatant and obvious, and he's literally just laying out the facts and the information and what has actually been observed by, people and whatnot and medical professionals. It's like, you can't really debate that. So
That's right. That's right. So yeah, man, I mean, it's huge. It's huge.
Right.
Why? Because I think for the first time there's an alignment happening. And it's happening in a time of great turmoil. It's happening in a time of great disruption, great corruption. And I really truly believe that we're going to see some change happening this year. I do. And I don't say that lightly, only because there's a lot of people that are suffering out there right now. And there's a lot of people like myself that have thought, oh man, I remember, and you do too, Ken and Scotty, it can't get any worse than Bush. It just can't.
I remember you should think that back in the day too. It's like, man, you ain't gonna get no worse than Bush. And
Come
then we
on,
had
man.
old
Cheney.
Obama. Right.
And then we had Chairman Mao Obama. And then we had, and then it couldn't get any worse than him. Right. And we got, 2016 comes along and we get like a little reprieve. It's almost like but was it? No, it really wasn't. And in the poor guy's defense, you never had a chance. I mean,
no, but I tell you what, just as an average citizen in this world,
yeah,
I'm going to say it because like, the first thing off the bat, it was like, I saw my check, and I used to work, freelance, doing my own thing. But when I had to punch that clock, all I know was that I was getting a couple $100 extra on my check. I mean, it might not mean a lot to somebody who's like making big bank and stuff, but for me, I was just like, well, no, this dude's doing business. I mean, and you remember me and you, Scotty, we was just like we're going to find something wrong with this dude because we know it's like, it's politicians, all this kind of stuff. Well, what I did know was on the home front. And on the home front, I was getting a couple $100 extra on my paycheck all the way up until Biden came in. Then guess what? That's gone because it was a millionaire tax break, these kinds of things. So it's like, I'm not going to say, I'm going to invite the guy over for Sunday dinner or any of this kind of stuff. But what I will say is
results are results.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you see.
Exactly.
If you see it, right. And like Ken said, an extra couple $100 makes a big difference.
It does. But hey, guys, hey, let me tell you something. Thank God we're not in Kanadistan. Could you imagine Justin Trudeau? Could you imagine us having to have to deal with that?
You're going to prison.
Can't do it. So Undead Quinn, sorry about that, but no, yeah. I love it. It's great. It's beautiful. Like scenery, elk, moose, that caribou. But
and now they got laws coming out from Canada. Well, if you even talk bad about something, you say this about something, I'm like,
you can't even write a sternly worded letter anymore.
Right. It used to be like, look, remember back in our days and when we were all starting out, like we could talk about things like aliens or something, right? And anybody could say like, oh, well, that's conspiracy theories, that's this. But now your conspiracy theories or what they call it, you just going by what they said. You can show videos of what these people have said. And then all of a sudden, what they're going to do to you?
This is false news.
They want to, exactly, weaponize, exactly.
They weaponize the term misinformation, the word, right? So, yeah, and I was afraid when I heard that word the first time, and I'll tell you why. Because 1984, and that was a big thing, newspeak. You had to make sure you said the right thing, and you didn't do the wrong thing, And we live in a time of turmoil and everything else, and great stress and great strife and war, and everybody's working like a dog that does work, and he goes and he escapes a little bit. And what do you know, man? Look at this. It's like the Garden of Eden out here. How is that? What the heck's going on? And it's true. We all run a rat race, but quite frankly, we don't have to. It's a choice. So, one of the things that one of the things we were talking about was what can we do as, I don't know, I don't want to say activists, but just human beings to kind of get change to go in the right direction. And one thing that I've seen really work time and time again, and something that we failed to do in America, I know the French got it down. The French got it down. I don't know what it is about the French, but there's revolution in their blood. I remember when we were brainwashed. Here's another thing about, remember after 9/11? And, well, we're having a coalition. We're going to go to Iraq. And France was like, no, we're not going to go with that. It's BS. And it was all, we call them freedom fries now. We can't have them there. We can't have them there. They're French fries. No.
Dump the good wine. Dump the good wine. Let's pour that on the street.
Remember that? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, but they knew. It was like, oh, man. They just seem to know the whole revolution thing. So what do these truckers do? And the farmers and everybody else, they do nothing. They just stop. No, I mean they bomb. They throw fire bombs and stuff like that.
Right, because
the extreme side of it.
But when you have the actual like working class people that like are the fabric of what makes society run, like running, farming and actually like moving goods and all of that stuff. When they decide to say, no, I'm just not gonna do it, and they find out how quickly things grind to a halt and how much that actually has an effect on everything. That's a very effective way to get their politicians to take notice, and that's
all
why
it takes.
they do it.
It takes nothing. It takes nothing, right? So here's the thing, right? You just do it. No, you know how contagious that is. And I bring this up because as an ex-military guy, in the Navy, the joke was a Marine could stand in front of a wall, just a blank wall, just stand in front of it. And if you wait 5 minutes, you'll have a line of Marines behind him. Not because they made it's their program. Whoop! They go right in a line. Somebody's standing in line, got to get in that line. And you find that human behavior is often very much like that. People don't like to be black sheep. Gustav Le Bon figured that out when he wrote the book The Crowd. It's a 92-page Bible that the elitists and the control freaks use to control the masses. It's what Bernays read before he wrote Propaganda.
It gives them a deep understanding of crowd behavior, mass sort of, the ability to control the masses by, you're right. I mean, there's inherent sort of traits that we have as human beings, right?
Yeah.
Group mentality, behavioral patterns that they can exploit and use. And, this was deeply understood and deeply researched, way back in the day, right? In the late 1800s, early 1900s, I think that's where really the peak of that sort of research, and then, even going in through like World War II and whatnot. But, that period in history is when all of the sort of top academic elites and whatnot were really like dissecting the human psyche and what makes us tick as a species, on that sort of level of research of how to manipulate human beings on a primal level, right? And that's where you had the research into the reptilian brain and all of that, the Pavlovian response, and
it's amazing how predictable we are.
Right.
Really, I mean, you think we're independent, but it's like ants.
And it's very, very easy to exploit that. And if you put somebody under even the slightest bit of stress, it's very easy to get them to fall into that fight or flight, primitive, sort of primal way of thinking. And, whenever you're able to do things to traumatize the masses and put out messaging out there, right, and create situations that can cause panic and hysteria and
So
fear on a
are
mass
you
level.
talking? Wait a minute. Are you talking about a gentleman by the name of George W.F. Hegel? Are you? Because it was
No.
him in 1821 that made that whole process come to pass. He was the first one. He came up with that problem reaction solution. So the way that works, and this is straight from Michael Journal. So believe it or not, there's a sect of Catholics that are they understand that the current money system is obsolete, believe it or not. And they are advocating for kind of a similar situation to Star Trek, where everybody it's kind of like money doesn't become the object. It's more of advancing or, everybody's kind of pushing in the same direction. It's, of course, it's controversial when you think about it, because we've always known this. Humanity has always used gold, silver, something as a way to transfer, labor for whatever's, because you can't barter system would be pretty tough.
Right.
So George W.F. Hegel, right? He formulated what was called the Hegelian dialectic, and this is michaeljournal.org. The process by which Illuminati objectives are achieved. And according to the Hegelian dialectic, thesis plus antithesis equals synthesis. So in other words, first you foment a crisis, and then there's an enormous public outcry that something must be done about the problem. So you offer a solution that brings about the change you really wanted all along, but which people would have been unwilling to accept initially. And that's what you see used routinely over and over again. And the best, worst example, of course, is 9/11. And about that because 10 years prior to 9/11, they were trying to pass the Patriot Act before the Patriot Act was called the Patriot Act. And it was people like Ron Paul, and it was people, it was soundly rejected because it was like, whoa, dude, police state, whoa. And I mean, anybody that was alive before that, 9/11, you remember going up to the gates at an airport and waiting for grandma to come?
You're like,
you
wow,
can't do that.
why would you can't pass something like this? It was very.
And initially the World Trade Center got bombed the first time from the basement, guys, remember?
And the candy-coated title of the Patriot Act. This is what these people do. They give some kind of candy-coated titles for these bills that they pass into law that seems like it's supposed to be, the Patriot Act. Well, you're not patriotic if you do not support this. And then we went to what happened. Okay, years later, you got Bush, Patriot Act after 9/11. Then you have Obama come in, who was supposed to be like the guy who was totally against all this invasive, surveillance, all these kinds of things. That was a
selling point.
Exactly. But then what does he do? He signs it on to continue on with, then nobody's reading your emails. They're reading the metadata. Well, what is metadata? We talked about this on shows prior to this that we have done. It's like, what is metadata? It's information about information. It's still the same thing. It's like, oh my goodness gracious, these people are crazy.
I know.
Right.
But, and Military Commissions Act, so much more. Matter of fact, it was the NDAA of 2010. That was the year, by the way, unfortunately, I had to blow the whistle on some things when it was the federal government. And next thing you know, they're finding out, 2 billion rounds of what? For where?
Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe, I still see you. Me and my lady were sitting here, we're watching documentaries after all the time. I'm like, oh, that's my buddy. That's Joe right there. And she's like, huh? I said, no, that's Joe
Oh yeah,
Joseph.
yeah, yeah.
On
Oh, very good. What are
documentaries, man.
secrets?
We would see this on like the weirdest channels on like, the Roku free channels.
Uh-huh.
Playing 24 hours a day, this documentary. I'm like, no, I was like, I didn't even, because you don't ever talk about documentaries you ever go. And I was like, oh, dude. And you're sitting there and you laid it down good. I was like, oh, man, I didn't even know you did it. I've known you for a while. Okay, this is a side note, but I've always been like.
So remember, Joe likes to remain an enigma. So that's why Joe just does like the little cameos here and there. I like doing the research. I like doing this, but the thing that I don't like, and it's everybody's different, but I can't. I have this thing where I can't do this for money. I can't do it for money.
Right.
And we're super private. And that's the thing. With the money comes a lack of privacy. Then there's this. I don't want any of that.
And then
I've seen what that does.
They're coming after you. Then they're coming after you. Big
they
time.
hold
You
it
got
over
the
your
IRS.
head.
You got the RS coming down.
And then they rip the rug out of you. You're right. And they'll suspend your channel and they'll freeze your stuff. And if it's not YouTube, it's PayPal. If it ain't PayPal, it's eBay. And they all do it. And it's all controlled. So I like to be able to talk about things in a way where I'm unobstructed. That's the best way to put it. And so I would rather promote KGRADB or change the channel or anybody else and help grow them. Great. But I know
I don't want the IRS coming after me. I don't want the IRS coming to get me now. Hold on there.
Yep. Yep. No, seriously, you're right. I mean, I've had them come after me. I'm still paying crap. Why? Because that's what happens when you do this stuff. It's not, hey, let's just do this and talk crap. No, the reason why I've done this for so long, I told my old man this because there's oftentimes I wonder, when you go down this path, you often become a black sheep in so many different ways. And we've lost a lot because of the decisions that we've made. I mean, we have suffered terribly, my family, for it. But I can tell you that I would do it all over again. And the reason why is there's 19 years of an archive of a history that's out there that documents everything that I've said and everything it's my, I don't want to say legacy, but at least I can point it and say, you want to see what I've been doing? This is what I've been doing. And
exactly.
look at how much of it has come to pass.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like, I have no regrets,
No.
and everything. It's like, from that, but it's an archive of history. And that's the way I always looked at it. I looked at it before, like, man, I actually, started doing, YouTube revenue and these kinds of things. But at the end of the day, from the beginning, I didn't do it for the money. I did it for the information and sharing.
But if you do it for the money,
network.
It's all you.
And
it's
then
okay.
when I could, I was like, oh my goodness, I could pay the bills and do this. So yes, this is what I really wanted to do, is be able to pay my bills, my family be fed, and all this kind of stuff. And then when they took it away, it's just like, I still want to do
that's just it. That's just it. What did they do? They took it away. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because you were saying too much. You were spewing misinformation. And you can't be doing that, man. You can't.
But at the end of the day, Joe, it's just like I still sit here after, like, for so many years, I could see you on those documentaries, all these I mean, in different documentaries, whether it was, aliens, declassified government documents, all these kind of things that I see you out there, or Scott Lopez is still here today too, doing his thing, still talking. It's out there. It's in the cloud. And it is a big historical thing. And that's the way I always felt about it. It's like, no matter what, we have this out here. No matter how much that mainstream media is out there talking all this crap, lying, scheming, scamming, plotting, and planning 25 days, 7 days a week. And the fact is like we have our information out there, and as long as theirs is out there, they can delete our stuff, they can ban stuff, they can do all this stuff. But there's going to be people like us out there that has this information, who has had this. I mean, like back in the day, we researched government documents to find our information. We're the ones going like, it wasn't all this stuff like they have now. It was like we had to go in and look at Library of Congress, government documents when it came out, so we could show the actual government documents to prove what we were talking about. Said, no, look at this stuff.
Well, it helped for me because I was a civil servant and I had access to Fed Biz Ops, but everybody did at the time. They just didn't know it, and it was just, hey, you know what? I'm just going to show people how to do it. How's that?
And you'd be blown away by just how much you can find just with public information, open source public information. It's just people don't take the time to research, and people don't take and you can't blame people. Yeah, you can't blame people. I mean, most people are just trying to live their lives and get through the day. People don't have time to research government documents and find out what their government's really been doing.
But that's why, Scott. Well, you put the link out there. Here's a link.
Right.
Go look for yourself. So, it's like they don't have to go in there and dive, but you're presenting this stuff for them. It's like, hey, click the link. Then they go over and, it's a .gov thing. Here's a document right here on the own government's website here talking this stuff. And that's a really good thing. And that's the thing nowadays is we need more people to continue to do that. And the thing that we're in now, this needs to continue on. It's showing people how to do it for themselves. Or if, like you said, if they don't have time, they're working, they struggling and surviving. They got 2 jobs, they got a job, 2 jobs, whatever, trying to live. They don't have the time to do it. So they look at headlines, they look at this stuff, but here's the mainstream media giving them all this crap. Not enough information to really, but that's why they need that independent media to continue on and give them a link. It's just a click. It's a very click on the thing. Here it goes, boom, wow, what? Then this takes it off.
All you have to do is put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Just put it out there. It doesn't matter how many clicks you get. None of that matters. It's just putting it out there because what is meant to me, whatever's meant to be is meant to be. And as long as it's out there, to me, the Almighty gets a chance to use it any way that he wants to at any given time. It may not be, matter of fact, it's not on my time. It's not on your time. It's on his time. So as far as I'm concerned, that's my job. I put it out there, and it's hit a few times. You know what I mean? Where it went big,
and you never know when something's gonna, kind of like go viral or pick up steam or whatever.
You have to teach
put it out there,
and you have to teach people, all of you. You have to know that the control freaks have been wanting and have done this and plotted and planned and schemed and scammed for a long time. As a matter of fact, michaeljournal.org, you got to check them out. Yeah, they're pretty interesting fellas. Adam Weishaupt. Everybody remember him?
Yep.
Spartacus. Of course, I'd like a freaking code name of Spartacus too. That'd be kind of cool. I don't even know if that's acceptable in this day and age. Because of maybe a little more gender neutral term would probably be a more appropriate today. But Spartacus, he established a secret society in 1776. Interesting, that year, called the Order of the Illuminati. Weishaupt, of course, was the professor of canon law at the University of Ingolstadt in Bavaria, and he was the one that set out the 7 goals of the New World Order. Now, New World Order, of course, is kind of a broad term, but
right.
I want everybody to listen right now to what
I would say. Would you say, Joe, that the whole concept, the whole New World Order concept, is just sort of a common theme that
Yeah,
the
it's like
elites,
make
that the
America great
elites
again.
that the elites all throughout history have had this sort
Yeah,
of common vision of this sort of
yeah,
new world order
yeah. It's
thing,
their version of MAGA.
whatever it is. Yeah,
We
right.
have it. We have it. We actually, every single person on this in the world would have an ideology of an idea of a new world order. What would make this planet?
Right,
What would
right.
make it
Hmm.
great? But as far as the terminology, though, we have seen for a lot of years. I mean, all the way back as we could see from people talking about a new world order. Everybody had one. But the thing about it is the world's got bigger and bigger and bigger, right? More people, more needing to have this new world order to control people. I mean, you think about the ancient Sumerians talking about, oh, we're gonna block the sun when it was just a eclipse happening,
Right.
something like that. This is their new world order, to control these people in this world that they knew, But
Technocrats.
as far as verbally, people will still sit here to this day and act like this is some conspiracy theory. It's like, how many people do we need to go back from video and anything from the popes to Hitler's to Japan to anybody in this world who has ever talked in the last 100 years at least, talking about a new world order, right? Verbally speaking the words new world order. And I'm sitting here
Oh
thinking,
yeah.
like, anybody who's sitting here going like, yeah, well, that's a conspiracy that this thing don't exist. And I'm sitting here going
Well,
like, what they say? All
I
these
got a
people
great
talk.
idea.
They ain't
I
got
got
no
a great
t-shirts.
idea.
Hey, Joe, they don't got a t-shirts. They don't got no bumper stickers and not a
Nope.
fan club or nothing. It's an abstract concept that has been around for a very long time.
Very long time. Okay, so we'll talk about, since you just brought that up, New World Order, it's prominent people through history who have used or um, embraced that term. Let's just say that. Okay, so Adam Weishaupt was the guy that invented it. He's the one that said, you know what? This is a pretty cool term. I think I'm going to use this. Okay. So he said there's going to be 7 objectives. And of course, the first one is the abolition of all ordered governments, which, of course, we've seen the push over the past, since the League of Nations to get away from monarchies, uh, dictatorships, democracies, republics. It doesn't matter. They don't want it. They want one world government that manages everything. So we've seen it with the UN, but it just kind of peters out and no one really respects it. And then you've got, the League of Nations was even worse. So you could see something that would affect the whole global system to be a catalyst for that being presented as a solution. Like oftentimes you hear about the Great Reset. That would be part of that, trying to get to one control body. Okay. But then you
Right.
got number 2. And this is interesting because you're seeing more of a push globally for this by people because they are desperate. You have more people in despair. You have more people actually starving. I think 3 billion people by the UN are considered starving. Just think about that for a second. That's pretty damn terrible. But abolition of private property is something that, take real estate, for example, here in the United States. In the last couple of years, it has exploded. And rents have become unbearable. And then, of course, you've got utilities because of the attack on abiotic fluids, which I won't call fossil fuels because that's a Rockefeller term.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's bullshit too. Yes, yes, dear, it is bullshit and a renewable resource. But I digress. It is still a push to just put more pressure on everybody and to get control of them. Now you can see a solution being, okay, well, we're going to provide government housing. Everybody's going to have a 400 square foot living quarters, and that's good for one family. of course, until we can get rid of the family, which you can see has been happening too. Oh, by the way, that's goal number 5, objective number 5. So you do away with private property. Everybody gets the same thing, right? It's kind of a socialist, communist type of thing, but on a macro. Then you got abolition of inheritance. So not only do you want to get rid of the family, you want to get rid of inheritance because you want people dependent on the government. You want to do away with private property, so you are totally dependent on the government. And then you only have one government. And then you have abolition of religion, because you don't want people worshiping or putting their faith in a deity or anything else for that matter. You want them to worship the government god. So that's a critical objective. And objective 7, of course, create that world government. So 1776, that's when it started. That's when that idea spread, took off like a flower, right? You feeling it? You feeling it? Feeling pretty oppressed right now? I hope so. Because it gets worse, you see. Because, when I started out, guys, one of my great co-hosts was A.C. Griffith. And he was best known for blowing the lid on chemtrails and doing the investigation and the study along with Clifford Carnicom. And, oh man, I mean, the stuff that he put out and did was just unbelievable. But he would always connect by his $19 Radio Shack phone. And his questions were always, "Hey, Joe, what's your dollar?" Uh-oh. Okay, you're going to ask me that, Griff, again? What's your dollar? I said, it's the thing in my pocket. No, it's not. That's a Federal Reserve note. That's just a debt instrument. What's a dollar? About the thing in my pocket? No. Go to the bank and tell them I'd like to turn this Federal Reserve, this $20 Federal Reserve note in for $20, please. You can't get dollars, can you? And it's just, he just does that. And it was great because here he is. He's like a grampy, just an old grampy kind of doing his thing. And the way it came over, it spread like wildfire. And it was great because it's true. We have a fiat currency. We have a system that's really built on nothing. And it used to have value, but now it doesn't. And it's reflected in the prices we pay now. The value of the dollar it's gone. Of the Federal Reserve note, not the dollar. Who the hell knows what a dollar is? It used to be that you could.
It's paper.
Well, you used to be able to turn it in for gold or silver, depending on what, and you could get a tangible asset. But then they took us off the gold standard. And who was responsible for that? Oh, just J.P. Morgan, right? Because these guys knew that they wanted to take over the world. It's not that they want to take over the world. They just know what's best for everybody else because they have a measure of success.
Or
they wanted to take
over.
Or
that money, that dollar that used to be backed by gold or silver, what's it backed by? No, it's a piece of paper.
Well, it used to be oil. It used to be oil, at least, because it was the only.
At least it used to be backed by something. Now it's like nothing. It's like, really, well, you're going to eat it? I mean, I don't think it's going to do nothing for you. You can't eat it. Oh, well, I guess you could eat it if you really wanted to. But it's like, it doesn't make any sense that the whole thing, as far as an economy, unless it's set to fail from the get-go, we're not talking about stupid people. These people, J.P. Morgan, any of these cats out there.
Oh, they were brilliant.
Rockefellers, any of these people out there, any of these bankers, they're not stupid. They already know this. The Federal Reserve knows that, like, okay, the most simplistic way to show you, like, every dollar they make, there's a percent of interest that's on each dollar. So there's no way that you could ever pay this money back to them unless you keep them keep the press going to change to make more money to pay back the interest that you once had, because there's nothing back in this. It's crazy.
And please check out Chronos Stone's boot polish. Yes. 5-star.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, very good. Yeah,
I need some on my
but you
boats
know,
right
look,
now.
I mean, the whole point of this system that they set up was to slowly extract as much wealth out of the population as possible, and to ride that fine line between, you know, extraction of wealth and keeping things stable enough to where things don't collapse, right?
Okay.
And that's the fine line that they walk on a 24/7 basis, and that's how they operate, and that's how the system was made to set up, right? To be set up.
So
And
February
so, yeah.
3rd, 1913, right? You had the 16th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like, that's when the control freaks kind of went into the high gear here in the United States, because the illusion that the money trust was broken up, or that they had somehow damaged the money trust, it was an illusion, a total illusion. They didn't lose power. It was just a nice way of shuffling things around for a
I
little
was going to say
while.
they needed to reshuffle the chairs on the deck and
That was it, just a little bit,
change the way
right?
things looked, you know.
Kind of like a
Yeah.
great reset back in the turn of the 20th century. So February 3rd,
Right.
1916, you had the 16th Amendment that made it possible for the federal government to impose a progressive income tax. And that was ratified. So plank number 2 of that manifesto, the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx, that became firmly entrenched here in the United States in 1913, one of the 10 planks, and a very important one. But what was even more important was Woodrow Wilson. So Woodrow Wilson he was beholden to the big banks, and he was elected by the big banks. And in 1913, Wilson wrote in this magazine, The New Freedom, he revealed a very interesting thing, because this is where you kind of get some insight into Wilson and why he was controlled the way he was. And he said, since I've entered politics, remember, he was the dean of Harvard, of Yale. He was a dean of Yale or Princeton, one of the two. I can't remember, but it was an Ivy League school. He says, since I entered politics, I've chiefly had men's views confided to me privately, of course. Some of the biggest men in the U.S. in the field of commerce and manufacturing are afraid of somebody and afraid of something. They know that there's a power somewhere so organized, so subtle, so watchful, so interlocked, so complete, so pervasive, that they better not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation to it.
Mm.
So I mean, here's a guy that is really an academic, and he dives into politics at the request of closer, confidence. If you're the dean of an Ivy League school, I'm sure you've got some pretty good connections, ring knocking. So what does he do later that year? Of course, beholden to these people. December 23rd, 1913 is when the Federal Reserve Act was passed. And it was during a time when Congress was in recess and there was hardly a quorum, and it was the only way they could get it through. And it was 3 years before that all of those banking families met in Jekyll Island. Thank you, G. Edward Griffin, for a great book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's down in Georgia. And Colonel Mandel House, Edward Mandel House, he was a very powerful influence in the White House during this time. And he was another vassal of the banksters. But basically what they wanted to do is have a Federal Reserve that transferred the power to create money from the American government over to the private bank. And that's exactly what they did. So Congressman Charles A. Lindbergh Sr., who, by the way, was like the Ron Paul of his day. So, and his children were the same way, right? You always hear like Charles Lindbergh Jr. He was very outspoken and
wasn't that on the date? Wasn't that like around Christmas?
Yeah, it's December 23rd. 23rd. Yeah,
right.
and that's right.
Congress was let out where most of the people there were out on the.
They were already going to Christmas break. Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So Charles A. Lindbergh Sr., he said, quote, This act establishes the most gigantic trust on earth. Of course, that was the common term of the day, the money trust. When the president signs this act, the invisible government by money power, proven to exist by the money trust investigations, and you got to research that, but you won't find much because that stuff gets scrubbed, will be legalized. And it absolutely did. And so this affected Wilson so profoundly between this and the pressure to enter World War I, but knowing that the United States historically before any war is almost always staunchly neutral. And then something happens, right? You have some catalyst and boom, you wake up the sleeping giant and everybody moves in that direction. A lot of people, it's patriotism. They're doing it for the right thing, but they're being controlled. Problem, reaction, solution. They'll get there one way or the other. But there was a lot of pressure on Wilson. Go ahead.
Like Tony Stone says in the chat, why do we allow them to keep us bent over then? Why is it that we continue on to be like this? Because we are well versed. Like I said, I always go back to ancient Sumerians. Like I said, they come out there on the people and they're like, hey, if y'all don't do what we say, we're going to take the sun away. Because they knew an eclipse was going to come. So therefore, they had this power. The people didn't know. But
knowledge is power.
2024, exactly. Knowledge is power. But so with the all of the things that we have to educate us on like real stuff. I mean, how is it that they keep us like this with the banking system? Like seriously, like how can they continue us to go on? Like I see this every day. I'm sitting here watching the news and it's always the same thing. I'm like, what? I mean, how can people continue to support something that's like, it's bad for us?
Because they're used to it. They're controlled. It's comfortable. People don't like change on the whole. I mean,
but they go to the stores. They paying this, inflated kind of things for their food, their fuels, the electric bills, everything. They see, okay, they sit here and they go like, okay, people in all of the big cities, they're going out. I mean, crime is up and everything. But, these people, some people are sitting there and acting like everything is cool when it's really not.
It's not. But because people don't like, they have to keep up with the Joneses. People give those appearances. I think it's been amplified a little bit by social media and these influencers. Is what happens.
I just said that about. I guarantee you, it wasn't an hour and a half to 2 hours ago. Keeping up with the Joneses. I hadn't used that statement in a long time. It's like,
oh yeah,
keeping up with the Joneses and TikTok, like you just said, like something out there, like where it makes people continue, whether they know in their every fiber this isn't true, but
believe me, out there, everybody's suffering. I know it. And everybody out there, I know you're suffering. I get it. Believe me, we all get it. You don't have to hide it with us. Just so you know, we're one happy family. That's the way I look at it. But hold on, honey. Hold on one second. I got to tell you this though. It affected Wilson so profoundly that is, in my humble opinion, what led to his health issues and the strokes, and then eventually Edith Galt, his wife, running the country for 2 years because he couldn't. He was totally and completely incapacitated. So in 1916, this is 3 years after he signed the Federal Reserve Act, he said, "I'm a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is controlled by its system of credit. Our system of credit is concentrated, meaning in the hands of a select few, just like today. Our system of credit is concentrated. The growth of the nation, therefore, and all our activities are in the hands of a few men. We have come to be one of the worst ruled, one of the most completely controlled and dominated governments in the civilized world. No longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and the vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men." And he was absolutely right. He was just
spot on.
He was bought. And when you're bought, you sell your soul. That's what happens. That's what happens. They have control over you and they will ruin you. You're just a henchman. That's all you are. Even the president. That's especially the president. Right. So that's an interesting thing. And it's not just him. It's not just him, so he's one voice of many. Winston Churchill in 1920, he says, from the days of Spartacus Weishaupt, that's Winston Churchill, he knows about Adam Weishaupt. To those of Karl Marx, a descendant, or not descendant, but I would say a disciple of Weishaupt was Karl Marx.
Right.
To those of Trotsky, Bella Kuhn, Rosa Luxemburg, and Emma Goldman, this worldwide conspiracy for the overthrow of civilization and for the reconstitution of society on the basis of arrested development, of envious malevolence and impossible equality has been steadily growing. It played a definite, recognizable role in the tragedy of the French Revolution. It's been the mainspring of every subversive movement during the 19th century. And now at last, this band of extraordinary personalities from the underworld of the great cities of Europe and America have gripped the Russian people by the hair of their heads and have practically become the undisputed masters of that enormous empire. Of course, he's talking about the Bolshevik Revolution. Right. And that was all funded by New York and London. I mean, it's crazy, but that's what happens. That's what happens. So even Churchill, he knew it and was beholden to it in a lot of ways. It's really interesting when you start looking through history, how all of these things come to pass, how they came to pass. It's nuts. And you could keep going on and on and on. Very influential people, are huge into it. Like, you'd never think H.G. Wells. Everybody looks at H.G. Wells. They hear H.G. Wells and they think of all the great, sci-fi stuff he wrote. But he also wrote The Open Conspiracy, a blueprint for a world revolution in 1928. He was what you would call a visionary of that day. No different than Aldous Huxley, or gosh darn it, 1984. Help me out, Scotty. George Orwell. Thank you.
George Orwell. Yeah.
Hello, cat. So yeah, as I have my cat on my shoulders. Yeah.
Schrodinger's cat came to visit.
Schrodinger's cat is come and gone. But I mean, this has been the modus operandi for a long time.
Right.
And there's a record of it. So, when I hear about, the elections and all that, I look at what happened to Trump. I look at what happened to General Flynn. Now, there's a guy that did nothing. He did absolutely nothing, and they destroyed him. They destroyed that poor guy. I mean, unbelievable. Say what you will, but I mean, that guy got the raw deal. And they'll destroy anybody, which is why I don't like to be beholden to any control freaks as much as I possibly can. And unfortunately, in this life we lead, if you have to keep up with the Joneses in any way, shape, or form, then you're doing you're becoming a willing vassal by default.
Right. At some level, you have to operate within their construct and within their system if you want to survive, right? So you have to, be beholden to this at some level, but you see what happens whenever you have people that they deem to be kind of stepping out of line, right? And whatever, and they're able to deplatform you or soft censor you, or was it shadow banning and
shadow banning? Yeah, shadow banning. That's a great term.
Where they don't outright deplatform you or remove you, but they just suppress your engagement and suppress the amount of people that can actually see your content. But then they can use the plausible deniability of, well, hey, we never pulled your channel down. We don't know what's going on. You're just not getting any engagement. Maybe people aren't interested in your stuff anymore. Whatever. Blah 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 blah.
Of course not.
But they have went out of bounds with this kind of stuff. I mean,
right.
Serious. I mean, they went from that, okay, we don't ban your stuff, we can do this and that and something else, to what was the article I read the other day? There's a woman in the locker room somewhere, a gym or something, right? And there's a dude in there. He's in there. And the lady goes to party. She's like, "You're a guy. You don't need to be in here." This kind of stuff. And it's just like, and I ain't saying nothing. Don't get me wrong here, right, man? I live in San Francisco. I know trannies, these kinds of people. It's like, these are adults, right? But when you come into certain aspects of life where you push it too far, you give people an inch, they take a mile kind of thing. It's like these things. But then what they do to these people, it's like we were talking about Canada earlier. It's like I just read this thing today or yesterday where they're talking about, like, if you misgender somebody, right, all of a sudden, I mean, you could go to prison. And I'm talking about, like, back in the days, like, back when I first got into this, I'll speak for myself. I won't speak for nobody else, but when I got into this, is like, you can talk about anything. You talk about Bigfoot, you can talk about all this stuff, and there was no okay, it's misinformation, so we're gonna ban you. No, they didn't care about these kinds of things. But it's like, now, if they judge you and they label you as misinformation of any sort just because of your opinions, like, yeah, it's just your opinions. You go like, yeah, well, I think, hey, I think that election was false, man. I seen proof to me on all these kinds of things. But the thing is like, all of a sudden they want to ban you.
And then tell them high enough.
But if you want to take me and put me in prison,
we got to go to break, not prison. So when we come back, we'll continue. We'll let Ken continue to rant. So just stand by, and we'll be right back.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Did you know 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated? If you struggle with focus, run low on energy, or when it's time to finally sleep, you simply can't, this can all be linked to dehydration, and Fuel Up has the answer. Our proprietary formula contains the finest cellular hydration with the strongest immune-enhancing natural ingredients. The Fuel Up system is made up of 3 different incredibly tasting varieties. Wake kickstarts your day with a jolt of caffeine. Play boosts focus while hydrating your cells. Rest not only helps you relax, but also rejuvenates your cells while you sleep. Here's what our clients have to say.
I really don't miss my coffee, and you can tell the difference.
So I'm going to take it for the energy. I'm going to take it for the play. I'm going to take it, all day.
And it works. That's the thing. It works. We love it.
Take the Fuel Up Challenge now, where we offer a Feel the Difference money-back guarantee. Fuel Up for life.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected. Only at kgradb.com.
Well, we're back. It's hour number 2. And Ken is having himself a happy action fun time over there. Oh, gotcha. All right. So, and it's good too. You know why that's good? You know why that's good? I'll tell you why this is good, because you get some insight into the web family.
No. This got to listen to these people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how you doing there, Ken?
Something going on. Oh, hold on.
Oh no! Oh, you crazy galoot! You getting all crazy on there with? Oh yeah.
What happened?
Oh yeah.
Your screen is delayed.
It's too late now. Oh yeah.
Are we live?
Oh, you've been live for a minute.
Oh, see, no, that's Stephanie's fault over here.
I know. Oh, yeah. Hey,
I thought I was on mute. I know y'all didn't hear that.
Hey. Oh, we all heard everything. Oh yeah, it was good. Okay, that was good. We like the web It's web family. Oh yeah, we got it. It's all good.
I apologize.
Why? That's what it's all about, buddy. Woo!
I don't know what y'all heard. So.
I don't either. It was kind of crazy, but it's okay. Hey, entertainment at its finest, let me tell you. And welcome to everybody from the Change the Channel and chat. Welcome. This is the first time we've live streamed the Freedom Link to that, and it's great to be on this. And anybody that wants to talk about anything, just throw it up in the chat, and we'll be glad to talk about it. Maybe put your comment up there on the screen. So,
right.
Back to what we was discussing, the control freaks, and we have these elections, and the reason why I say that this year is kind of different, and you got a lot of things kind of happening in parallels. You got inflation, right? So 33% is the cost of living has gone up on average for Americans. If you live in Canada or the UK, it's already out of control, and you're screwed, and it sucks. And we have an interesting third-party candidate coming up in RFK Jr., which a lot of people will say, well, that guy's controlled and everything. No, to a point, everybody's controlled. Everybody forms their opinions. Everybody does their thing. He comes from a prominent political family, but he's also the black sheep of his family.
Right.
Because why? Because there's a guy that went and he embarked upon a rabbit hole, that he then went, after knowing what he knew and learned what he learned, started an activist organization, a legal resource for people who were injured by certain medical interventions. And
yes.
Yeah. And so of course he is a pariah. Right on. And he's polling at, now you take a look at him, and the last legit third-party candidate, minus Michael Badnarik, who is an absolute juggernaut of a gentleman that knows the Constitution inside and out, backwards and forwards, upside down. And as a matter of fact, if you check on YouTube, Michael Badnarik, and you look up Constitution class, it's probably one of the best 8 hours you'll ever spend watching and learning about your rights and what you don't know about your rights. It's really, really good. But before him, there was a guy by the name of Ross Perot. And if you're older like us, you remember Ross Perot.
Yeah.
And I want you to take a look at this chart right here, you see. Because you know what? And that
he was like,
that guy, he's just a
he was
lovable
like a
dude,
hero.
man.
He was like a hero for a lot of us, especially us that are from Texas. We were like, yeah, Ross Perot, get in there, you know.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I think it was a computer company like HP or something like that. He was pretty big into that. That's where he kind of made his money, and then he got in and on to other things. But
right, and if you're nerdy like me, you know, like Ross Perot's connections with like, you know, making computers and or there was you know, there was like certain computer businesses, you know, he would that they would come up with like, yeah, it was kind of wild actually. Yeah, so yeah.
So there he was. Now, where he stood at the time now to where RFK stands right now, they're polling about the same. And if he keeps going the way he's going, and he can pull at least 19%, which is what Ross Perot pulled in 1992,
Right.
he would swing the election one way or the other easy. If not, if he doesn't do better. You got to remember,
that 19% threshold is a very important sort of
huge,
number.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. Now, I don't think Ross Perot won any states, but like I said, it was influential enough to make change.
But they've been working against him to keep him off the ballots everywhere too. Just as much as Trump, they have been trying to keep him off the ballots anywhere.
And that's why he's in talks. He's in talks with the Libertarian Party right now. He might run as a Libertarian, which would be kind of weird because RFK does have a little bit of, you know, he got a little bit of his family in there, and he was a lifelong Democrat. And I don't really care about that, right or left, up or down. I don't.
Right.
Care.
It's the topics. It's the things. It's like,
I
never really cared about what you talk about. As long as you're talking the truth, if you can lay down some truth stuff, then I want to hear what you're talking about.
I mean, but if you think about it, yeah, I mean, if you think about it in this day and age, I mean, a lot of the things that RFK Jr. is talking about is sort of in line with more in line with libertarians than
Macron. Wait, whoa! Macron's wife is a tranny. Is that right? Am I reading that right?
That's what I was looking at too. I'm like,
get out of here. That's funny.
That might be man shell. That means some man shell. Hold on.
I mean, no, don't get me wrong. I mean, she was now. There's a great example, right? So look at all these teachers that are going to prison now for having a little lovey-dovey with their students. And look at Bridget. Macron's how many years older? It's like 22 or something like that.
I was going to say, you know, I thought Macron, I thought he was going with his teacher. You know, I thought that was the whole...
It was a teen, I thought.
It was kind of a weird situation there where she was a lot older than him. And yeah, he's jamming some Van Halen. Jamming some Van Halen out there.
That's right. So I don't know. Yeah. Now, see that this is one of those things. Thank you, Chrono Stone. Yep. He's kind of, that's not good.
Yeah. See, that's but
you take the good with the bad. That's the problem. See, then they get in and it's like, and people will follow. Why? Because in one area, he helped out. He saw the light, the truth, you know, and wasn't a vassal of the big pharma and things like that. But
that's the thing. That's the thing on somebody's like.
That's how Obama got in.
Chrono Stone says, you know, my guns are a problem, you know, but they like the views on pharma. It's like a lot of these people out there. I mean, you ain't got to agree 100%, you know.
Nope.
It's like Chewbacca. Oh, hold up. I like this name. I'm going to take a pause for the calls on this.
You know, hey, can I hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Ken, if you would like to pull it up on the screen, you just hover over the comment and hit the show button. And you can. Yeah. Oh no, what? This is by the way, folks, this is Ken's training also.
Opinions on Trump, right?
There you go.
Right. But, you know, I see, okay, I'm going to do the other one. Give me a second here. Okay, say my guns are the problem, but I
There
like
you
his
go.
view on
See?
RFK. Right now, we do not have to agree 100%. Like I
No.
always say, it's like, heck, man, we don't always agree, and we've known each other for a long time. But
Right.
that's the beauty of it. It's like we ain't got to kill each other, beat each other down. We ain't got to do all this kind of stuff. But the thing is, it's like having respect enough for each other to understand each other's opinions on these things. It's like some things we do agree with. We're not going to agree on everything. Welcome
That's
to
right.
the real world. You know, it's like RFK. Yeah, okay, on guns. I'm sure, you know, no, but on big pharma, these kinds of things, yeah, I will agree. On Trump, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to agree on everything with Trump. And okay, but I can give one of them kind of like probably 99.9% on, you know, Let's Go Joe. You know, and it's kind of stuff of his kind of things because, you know, of the things. But, you know, like a lot of people out there, like RFK, he's got a lot of things that really make sense to people because it's really natural, right? You know, and it's not
it
like
resonates because it's more truthful than anything else.
Right.
And I think we tend to gravitate towards that.
And it's
At
like,
least-
okay, if it's guns, okay, maybe we don't agree on the Second Amendment and the interpretation of the Second Amendment. But the fact is, on the other things we do. So should we hate this guy? Should we go, no, nothing we want to hear about this guy? No, some things people are going to have opinions, and we need to stand beside the truth. And that's basically what it is.
Right, and when you're able to humanize the person instead of, you know, putting them as this like, oh, it's the other, and treating, you know, dehumanizing the other side and polarizing everything, and instead just having an actual conversation and talking with the person, you know what? That's how you're able to, you know, maybe come to a compromise, maybe change your opinion on something because you've listened to what the other side had to say, and maybe you realize, oh, maybe I wasn't standing on the right side of this argument, and you can change your opinion on it, or maybe even soften your opinion on it, or maybe go, hey, you know, okay, I can see it from that other perspective or whatever, and you know, that's how people are able to kind of come to an agreement, and everyone's able to get along, even though they might not agree on everything, you know. But with the way everything is now, it's just like, you know, you're either way out here on this side, and you better take your stand on this, and if you even entertain the idea or argument of anybody from the other side, then you know you're not you know, for the cause or whatever. You're not part of our group, you know. So it's
you've got lots of people that love you, don't you, man? What the heck? You've been away too long. You've been away way too long.
You got a lot of people trickling in, man.
Hey, but what you're saying, Scotty, is absolute truth. It's like, you know, you don't have to hate each other because we have difference of opinion on certain things. But what we need to focus on is what we agree on. These certain things you go like, no, that's not right. Let's do this.
Right.
Okay. You know, because we always go, you know, because somebody like, you know, they might like green beans. Or they make butter beans. Okay, which one's what? You know, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? We need to do those kinds of things. It's like the difference is fine. It's fine. But what we need to focus on first in any functioning society is the things that we all do agree on. We want to feed our families. We want to do these things. We want to have these things. Okay, those are first. If we disagree on all these other things, well, okay, we are not going to let that kill what we do agree on, because those are the things we really need to work on. Exactly.
You have to focus on all of the things that we can all agree on, and that we all agree are like, you know, the necessary things that you know need to be done, and that we need to do as a society, right? You know, and then all of the things we disagree on, that's like a whole other conversation that we can set aside, you know, and then work it out or whatever. But yeah, I mean, at this point, it's like we've reached a point to where there's nobody's talking. They're all screaming at each other, trying to reinforce their side of everything, and you know.
And you notice when people do start to talk, they get banned.
Right.
You know, if it's
Exactly. Because
anything
when
that
when you see an actual real conversation starting to take place and people starting to
it'll
actually
get
like
throttled.
right, you know, and they're like, "Oh, we can't have that. We can't have people getting along, man. We got to keep fomenting this bickering and divide and conquer because that's all it comes down to, right? I mean, that's what they're doing is they're keeping everybody distracted and fighting amongst themselves while they,
That's right.
sit up on top of their little perches on high, looking down on everybody squabbling with each other while they uh, extract the wealth from us and rape and pillage everything. So that's what it
And
all comes down to,
here's another one, right? And this is good. So says I agree with what
right?
you focus on. We all agree, but it seems like the left just wants to see the world burn. I would
Right.
say I'd say yes.
Yeah.
Yes to
Yes,
a,
you're
yeah,
absolutely yeah.
because if you think about it, now let's use society or in history as a guide. So let's dial it back a little bit, right? If you look at the Bolshevik Revolution and then you look at what Lenin wrote and you look at what Stalin did, right? Those were very, very heavy, what you would call leftist, Stalinist. You always hear those terms, but revolution was a key point of control. They used it to their advantage and they controlled. They were ruthless. They were ruthless because it was a way for them to harness all that power. And so that's kind of the mantra of that side of the house, where as you start to shift from the left on to neutral and then over this way, right? If you want to look at it two dimensionally,
Right.
that's where you start to have the morality swing in, right? But then also you have more of a control apparatus out in the open. Whereas on the left, it's a little more opaque. Used to be. See, it's kind of
Right.
like
And look, and a lot of this.
the savory, the slavery thing. People don't realize it was a Democratic Party that was staunchly pro-slave, right? But
Right.
as time went on, the identities kind of reversed themselves, and now they're starting to kind of merge together, Republican, in a lot of ways. You know,
Right, but and look, a lot of this is just like reactionary, right? So
Yep.
a lot of this stuff is reactionary to the other side, and you saw the rise of the quote unquote far right MAGA Republican, whatever you want to call that side. That was all just a reaction to the left. The when you get an extreme on one side, it's going to create an extreme on the other side, and then vice versa, right? So then it becomes a
I like this one
feedback
too.
loop.
Yeah.
Right,
I like
right.
I like this too.
And-
You wonder why we're in the position we're in is because you don't have men and women of honor very much anymore.
right.
They don't exist in a lot of ways.
Integrity.
Integrity, God, we could go on and on. It's just like it is a void. I've heard it called Mordor on the Potomac for a reason, because it is. It's dark. It's dark. I mean, you have to be. I don't know how you would enjoy living in Washington D.C. I couldn't do it. I mean, it's like having your soul sucked right from your chest. It's really bad. So a lot of people like us, like you out there that would want to make change, no. If I got in there, I don't know if I could. I'd probably end up dead.
I think
Honestly, because
I think it's so rotten to the core, right? Like it's so tainted and toxic that yeah, it would be very, very hard for somebody to operate in that environment without being compromised at some level at some
At
point.
some level. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's use an
right.
example. Let's have some examples, right? So you have candidates that have come from poverty. Many of them that are sitting reps, Senate, and they may have gone in with great intentions, and they've probably stuck by a lot of their values, but it's very easy to accept that backroom deal or that max contribution to your campaign and things like that. And then you owe them. And I'm telling you, there isn't one person in that organization, that corporation that we're all a part of, that hasn't sold their soul on some level. You almost have to at that level.
Well, look at them. Look at these people. I mean, how can you allow people? Let's say, okay, here's a populace. Here's a society no matter what side of in the United States you live, and then all of a sudden you are allowing people of violent crimes to, we're gonna do this, the DEI thing. We're gonna let people out. We're gonna let them out. They committed violent crimes and stuff like this. People don't feel safe. And you cannot protect yourself, else they're gonna put you in jail. I mean, seriously, it's like any kind of thing that they will do out here in this world of the United States of America. Don't know about the rest of the world at this point in time, but it's like, oh my goodness, it's like you can't protect yourself. You cannot do anything against anybody because you know what? If they commit a violent crime, they're gonna let them out. Okay, there's so much out there that's going on today that is so it just blows my mind. It's like you cannot allow violent criminals come in. Okay, well, it's no, you know what I'm saying, no bail, no bond, no anything. They just gonna let them on back on the street where they can commit crimes 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and then they're letting them back out there. Where is the rational? I mean, where is the logic in this kind of thing to make the average citizen feel safe in the businesses? Businesses are leaving these big cities all across the United States of America because the fact is like they're getting stole from. Well, you're not doing anything to do anything. But, you know, what is going on to really make this stuff happen? Is it the problem, action, revolution kind of thing going on, Scotty?
Well, look, this is what it boils down to. And I would highly suggest that people go and watch the interview that G. Edward Griffin did with Yuri Bezmenov, who was
I have a clip of it ready to go for you if you want.
Okay. Well, I mean, Yuri Bezmenov was a Russian defector. He worked for the KGB, and he basically just laid out the entire sort of plan of how Russia was going to infiltrate the United States through the education system and whatnot, and implement communist, socialist policies, in the United States. And I just received a message from Mr. Popeye, and he said that he is going to be playing the full interview of Yuri Bezmenov. So everybody must be on a Yuri Bezmenov wavelength tonight.
Oh, by the way, Popeye's live tonight, everybody. Since we're here, I want everybody to know that Popeye's there, and Scotty, you just kind of let the cat out of the bag. But we'll give him a little teaser.
So with that in mind, knowing that Popeye will be playing the interview, I will just say that, look, this has been a plan that's in place to infiltrate the U.S. education system, to start implementing communist and socialist sort of brainwashing and indoctrination into our society. Well, and look, okay, so Ken asked he asked an interesting question though. He's like, okay, well, you have all these criminals being let out, you have all these people running around, you have crime going up, you have all this stuff happening, right? Mm-hmm. Look, that this is part of the demoralization of society, right? And you see a lot of these countries that fall into these socialist sort of communist regimes. What's the first thing they do? They let the prisoners out to go run the streets, right?
That's right.
You've seen it in Venezuela. You've seen it across different
Haiti.
sort of Haiti, all these
That's the
different
latest
countries.
example. Yeah.
They let the prisoners out, and then what's that do? It foments chaos. It creates mayhem, and then what happens? Well, the public wants they need someone to come in.
They crave the police state.
Yeah, they need someone to come in and get things under control. And who's the only people there to get things under control? Well, the government that's in power, you know.
Right.
So
That's right.
it creates a problem, reaction, solution, and that's what we're seeing here. You know, they're releasing all these criminals, and then people are going to be clamoring for, you know, they need to do something. We need, you know, they want people to end up begging for the police state.
That's
and
right.
It doesn't matter. Look, and it doesn't matter what
It's already started.
side.
It's already begun.
It doesn't
yeah.
matter what side of the left-right paradigm you're on. There's always a way that they can get you to beg for the police state.
Oh yeah,
right?
Chrono Stone. I want to be a warlord too. Absolutely, that would be my favorite.
Sun Tzu, The Art of War.
Art of War. Yeah.
If any listeners out there have not read this, you got to read this, because this is like what we're going through right now.
Is exactly that.
Exactly that. Hey, all you got to do is you could look up on Google or any other search engine, hey, quotes from Art of War, Sun Tzu, and you will see like all of these quotes from this, which militaries around the world do study. And this is the basic study in military tactics and everything for the longest of time. You look this up and you will see things that you ain't got to even been into the military to know any of this stuff. You will read this and it will ring a bell. I guarantee it.
So check this out. This is a clip. Now Popeye is going to go and play this entire interview for you and kind of give you his feedback, which is going to be really valuable. So you want to make sure you stay on and listen to him. However, I'll give you a little teaser, because Yuri went and laid it all out well in advance. Now, I want you to listen to what he said. This is 1984. 1984.
Interesting, the year too, huh?
30 years ago and 1984. Yeah.
Ideological subversion is the slow process, which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years, actually it's overfulfilled, because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, Even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. The next stage is destabilization.
Interesting. Can you pause it for a second? Because it's very interesting because this was in 1984, and by his metric, he said, okay, they've already had this done by 1984. He said that the demoralization of the U.S. was already complete by 1984. Yep. And if you think about it, I mean, it's true, because I believe that the main sort of the real sort of push for sort of communist and socialist ideology being pushed in mainstream academia began in the 1960s, right? With the whole
before that. Before that.
Remember
the Dodd Commission? The Dodd Commission?
Well, yeah, right. But I think the 60s was sort of the pinnacle of it, right? The explosion of it becoming mainstream within academia, as it being like a socially sort of and so if they had been doing that since the 1960s, you had 60s, 70s, 80s, they had about 20, 15, 20 years to complete that. And then it's also interesting how he talked about how you can present facts and information to these people. You can argue until you're blue in the face and show them all of the facts and information that you want, and they still will not believe it or accept it, or they will just sit there and argue with you. And what are we seeing right now on social media? What are we seeing right now on Twitter? With these wild, leftist woke people. You can sit there and show them. You could sit there and show them the facts and tell them, and they just will not. It's like talking to a brick wall, and they refuse to accept any sort of logic or anything, because they've just been brainwashed and indoctrinated into this way of thinking. So it's very interesting hearing Yuri say this stuff, back in 1984.
Absolutely.
And we see it playing out right now.
Right now. Check this out. This is stage 2, destabilization.
Converter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, it doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. It's what matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world, that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized." This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with the benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. Your leftists in United States, all these professors and all these beautiful civil rights defenders, they are instrumental in the process of the subversion only to destabilize the nation. When their job is completed, they are not needed anymore. They know too much. Some of them, when they get disillusioned, when they see that Marxist-Leninists come to power, obviously they get offended They think that they will come to power. That will never happen, of course. They will be lined up against the wall and shot. But they may turn into the most bitter enemies of Marxist-Leninists when they come to power. And that's what happened in Nicaragua. You remember most of these former Marxist-Leninists were either put to prison or one of them split, and now he's working against Sandinistas. It happened in Grenada when Maurice Bishop was already a Marxist. He was executed by a new Marxist who was more Marxist than this Marxist. Same happened in Afghanistan when first there was Taraki, he was killed by Amin, then Amin was killed by Babrak Karmal.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting thing too, right? Is this idea that, that the socialism and everything else is going to be the way, and it's going to be safe, and everybody's going to be provided for, and everything else. And they push it. You can see it in academia. There's a ton of pushback going on right now because of it, and you see it with the genders, and you see it with everything else. Look, I don't care what the hell you do with your own time. That's your own time. I don't care. But let's call a spade a spade. If you're born a male or a female, that's what you are. It's not both. We're not plants. You can't be both. It's one or the other. And if you want to play, you can play. But come on.
And look, a lot of this is
Don't
also
push it on everybody else, especially kids, right?
Especially kids. Number one on the thing. If you're an adult, you can get a tattoo, you can buy alcohol, you can do all this stuff. But when you start, which we go back to the TikTok thing, who is TikTok? We're talking Sansu, the art of war here. They don't even have to do things. China does it. Very smart, okay? Very smart in tactics of what they have done to us as a country, as the United States of America. They took our steel industry. They took our work. They took our jobs. They did everything that they have done. Not the Chinese people. And I'm not talking about the people of the country because they're in the same boats that we is in our country. It's like, or any other populace in the countries. There's the governments there that what we talk about. And it's like, come on, man. No. I'm sorry. When it comes to the kids, now I'm going to put my foot down. Now, if you 18 years old, you could get your, what I'm saying? You could tattoo stuff on your head. You could do whatever you want to do. But you start messing with the kids, and all of a sudden, now the parents have no structure, no say about what you do. They can get the wingdings chopped off. They can get all these drugs and stuff, and it's going to be held from the parents and stuff like this. No. This is what is horrible, and was the worst thing. It's like, you got to be kidding me. We are Americans here in the United States. Americans. Don't care where you came from, what you hear. We are all Americans, no matter what your color, your skin is. When you start messing with the little cats, that's the ones we watch out for. And you're gonna tell them that they can do all this stuff. Yeah. When I was a kid, man, I had an umbrella. I jumped off, think I was gonna be Mary Poppins, and I'm gonna fly off the end of a trailer, jumping off. I'm gonna do all this stuff. No, there's a thing here that's called like adult supervision. Parents. No, not the state, not the government, not any of these other people out there. No, they the ones that's going to lay it down for the people.
And that's the thing, Ken. That's the thing. That's it. If they can push that far, and if they can get it to a level, to where, the parents don't even have a say in what they're they can't even make a decision for their child. It's all about destroying the family unit. That's part of the demoralization. And it's the state is the nanny. The state is the one to take care of you. And you even heard old Killary talking about it, right? It takes a village to raise the kids. You don't, you're not the one that's going to be making everybody's going to be making a decision for everything. And then it's also it's a power play. It's a control thing, right? It's being able to control the language in which people speak. That's why they focus on you need to say the proper pronouns. You're misgendering somebody. Are they a he, he, him, she, they,
model it
or
all
whatever,
up.
And that's what supposedly what they say about these things is this is what offends everybody else. Well, what about offends me? How about this offends me? Now I've had interactions, like I said, in San Francisco when I lived out there, and I had people get mad at me when I called them a dude or something, right? And they was a person who was a female. But here's the thing: it's like I'm not treating different than I treat women. I've had women when I call them dudes because it's or cats. Okay, I'm calling you a cat. I'm like, hey, y'all cats need to calm down. Something like that. Oh, I'm not a cat. Well, I can visibly see you're not a cat.
Well, because you have furries now. You got furries now. So you
can't don't get me started about that, Joe. Because here in Virginia, we got people that take the cat litter boxes for the kids who is recognizing as being a cat, and they take the cat litter boxes. No, don't get me started about it. But no, my point has always been is like, I'm not going to treat you any different than I treat anybody else. So therefore, in average women, I will call them dudes. I will call them cats. And sometimes they be saying, it's just the way I talk. Don't offend me by the way I talk. I'm not insulting you. I'm not doing anything different. I'm just treating you equal as I treat everybody else. Leave me alone. I'm not gonna treat you and go like, okay, I've got to do special things for these special people out there. No, you're not special. You're no different than anybody else. Get off your high horse and come on down to the rest of the populace here.
Right, but it all comes down to, look, if they can distort something as fundamental as male and female, as something just as fundamental and simple as that, a man and a woman, if they can get people confused and freaking out and
can you imagine? I mean, where are we?
How else are they manipulating people, right? If they can manipulate people on a fundamental level like that, it just shows that, it goes back to what I was talking about earlier, that they understand the human psyche and what makes people operate and how people behave, and especially whenever it's crowd mob mentality, and now we're in the day and age to where people can just post online and they don't really they don't have to receive consequences for what they say, and a lot of the stuff that people say online they wouldn't say to a person in their face, directly, so it's fomented a lot of this vitriol and hatred and even more extremes on both sides, online. And so, and that's where we're at, unfortunately. And
well, and then what it is too is it gets fomented because people on a deep level are just troubled. And because they can feel it and they're living it and the pressure and it's all coming to a head, and a lot of people are short circuiting. I mean, honest to God, it's really messing.
And look, man, there's nowhere to escape from this stuff either. Like, look, I've been following here lately. I've been following a lot of this stuff because, look, I play games, right? I consider myself a gamer, right? And so I follow a lot of stuff that's going on in like gaming. And look, this stuff has trickled into gaming, where they're injecting this woke stuff into games, right. And within the storyline. And I've been following the story lately about a company called Sweet Baby Inc., which is supposedly a consulting firm that these game development studios hire, and what they do is they come in and they make sure that the storyline for your game meets a lot of these diversity and equity things, and that the characters in your game meet the equity and diversity sort of check marks, and and It's insane. So look, you can't even escape from the stuff. To like, look, I play video games to unplug, man. I don't want to have to deal with this crap when I go and play a game. I want to suspend my disbelief, and I want to immerse myself into a fantasy world and play my game. And
a lot of times fun. It has to do with death and destruction and all that kind of crap. It's not
whatever, but
correct.
Right, and then I come and I go into the game, and then I'm being bombarded with somebody, in the game, putting out some woke, propaganda stuff, or telling me I'm a misogynist or something, or and it's like, man, I can't even get away from it playing the game, so and I think that's at the point where we're at now, where a lot of people in society, we're just tired of it. And people are tired of it, and they can see it, and they're doing it just blatantly out in the open now, without even trying to hide it. And it's just like,
which brings us full circle, right back to why I admire the French so much, because they sit on their ass and they do nothing, and they wait because they know that it's not going to take long for the powers that shouldn't be to start quaking. Oh crap! Oh no! The economic engine, Wall Street, oh no, we can't have that. And that's all it takes to do nothing.
Well, why do y'all think, Joe, Scotty, they seriously, like, now we see the turn of the tides here. I mean, like, seriously, like, these are things that we have lived our lives that we couldn't even imagine. I can't even imagine my grandparents, y'all's grandparents, just watching some of this stuff go down. And it's like, wow. I mean, if you look at, politically, like Democrats, it's like, man, they're messing over their entire people who vote for them. They're like messing up. Okay, we're going to back Israel. Oh, we got to back the Palestinians. Oh, we got to back this, got to back this. So it goes through so much. We got to be anti-Christian, and all of these kinds of things. But yet we had the Christian people out there voting for us. It's like these cats are out there just really savaging all of the voter blocks. Like, it's so much out there. It's like, wow. Seriously, like, really on the full spectrum of like all of the things that we are witnessing now in 2024. It's like, why? I mean, I'm trying to think logically, and logic has no play in this game whatsoever, because I'm thinking like, okay, if I was on their side, and when I'm doing this, it's like, do they know something's going to happen? It's going to what's going to happen?
First of all, Ken, it's hard to think logically about people who act illogically. So, trying to make a logical sort of understanding of people who act illogical.
But it's got to be, Scotty.
Kind of impossible. But there is.
It's got to be because these people are not stupid as they look. It's like, no, they're not going to be as stupid as they look and doing all these dumb things. And that's a get out of jail free card to go. Like, oh, they're so stupid. No, there is a calculated reason that they're doing these things. It's got to be.
Yeah, and I don't know why the Democrats are essentially imploding their own ship. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's because there's like an internal issue within their own party of sort of the older, like what you'd call like the older blue collar Democrats, that kind of people that like your Manchins and things like that. You're more rational thinking sort of blue collar Democrats that back in the day were like for the working man, right? And then you have this faction of like extremely radical woke that have like hijacked their party, right?
So they gotta play that part. But the thing is like, what I noticed with them, the Democrats, it seems this like, well, no, Republicans, I'm going to say everybody, I'm not going to go partisan on this, but it just seems like it's like Joe Biden. Let's just say him as you know. The thing it's like you're killing everything of voting. Where you go if you go for like okay, we're gonna go with the trans kids and stuff doing this kind of thing. Well, then guess what? You're killing your Christian backers here. Okay, you're going to go for the Palestinians. Well, okay, here's the Jewish vote right here. All of these kinds of different sects of their voter parts.
The problem is that they've overextended. They've
allowed all these
overextended
people to come in, and then they ship them to the areas that they need them to vote in.
And another problem is that there's too many people for the Democrat Party to pander to.
Right.
Because that's their thing. They try to pander to anybody that they feel is a oppressed minority or an oppressed group of people, and they feel that they have to jump in and immediately support their cause and get behind it, no matter what, and that's the problem. Is a lot of this stuff that they're jumping behind and that they're supporting, the people are like, no, it doesn't make sense, and they're willing to just die on that hill, and
a great example of that is Karine Jean-Pierre. And I hate to say it because that is hands down the worst person I have ever seen in my entire life. Like,
she's horrible, isn't she, Joe? She's horrible.
You have to be, you got to be pushing some sort of agenda if you have her as your damn spokesperson. That's all I could say. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen.
And how many press secretaries have we seen in our life? Okay, yeah, I could go through any. It makes no difference. Like I said, partisan stuff. Go through. Okay, these people are on their money. You know what I'm saying? They're doing their job. But she is the most horriblest, worstest person. It's like you can't have. Actually, she have to have somebody else come out.
Well, that's she's so bad
to help out because she sucks. She's so bad.
It's the perfect example of just your diversity hire without
it's like reverse nepotism.
Instead of hiring somebody based on their actual skill, the DEI in full effect, instead of it being based on their skill and what they're actually capable of doing, they were just put there because they're the right color.
Which is DEI spawns from ESG, environmental social governance, which, by the way, big corporations, a good one, General Electric, has ESG standards that if you are a supplier to GE in any way, that you have to comply, your company has to comply to their ESG standards and or have a pathway to get there.
And Joe, going back to the gaming thing I was just talking about, that is why these development studios and these gaming companies are hiring this company to come in and do this, because this all involves the DEI and the ESG funding that these game companies will receive, when they hire these consulting firms or whatever. And hey, we got 2 minutes, man.
We got 2 minutes. We's out of time already. I know, is that crazy, Ken? Good Lord God Almighty, it's done.
Good mother.
Another week has come and gone. So, with that said, any closing thoughts there, Mr. Ken?
Well, I'm telling you, the world is nothing but madness. Come here and check us out next week. We're going to be here next week talking about this, the madness that never ends.
Spread the word. Spread the word. And also visit kgradb.com and support the station if you can, because let me tell you something. It's a up and coming thing, and there's not many broadcasting people that are willing to go ahead and make the sacrifice. They put a station together and they get a group of good people across a whole genre of topics that you wouldn't dare talk to your friends about. And it's okay. But maybe you will now. See, maybe Sasquatch will become the norm. And you'll learn over time that Sasquatch lives matter.
And they ain't playing.
And the Chitauri, they matter too.
Yes.
That's right. Oh, and the dogmen. Sorry, we definitely have dogmen.
And the Mothman. Watch for that
Mothman.
We go Kim. They go woo here now. Hold on.
Oh, God almighty, we got some woo. So all I'm going to say is just keep thinking, be objective, but don't, you don't have to get into it. We're getting way too serious. We can talk. We can be neighborly. We don't have to peer through the blinds, and be all woo. No, can't do that. It's very simple. We just have to act human, and our humanity's being stolen from us. And it's easy to do that when they can control you. When they control the resources, they control the food, they control all of that. And all it takes, in all honesty, is just enough people to just say no and do nothing. That's all you have to do. And if you do that, in 2 weeks to a month, they will be crawling back to you. And how can I serve you, master? And that's exactly what we want them to say, because that's who they are supposed to serve, not themselves, which is what it's all about, So tune in next week, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and we will do this all over again. Mr. Bill, we out of here.